Hi everyone, this is Kelly with Kelly & Crafts. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and this is my third card for the month, and I'm just going to call this Thank You. I'm using the Poetic Expressions Suite with the Designer Series paper. I'm using one of the stamps. I'm definitely using the dies, and then I am using another stamp set. So let me show you what we are going to be doing. But first, let me show you the products that we're going to use. We'll be using the dies, and we're specifically using these dies. We are going to be using, like I said, we'll be using the stamp set. We're going to be using this stamp right here. I'm also bringing in something from the online store, and this is an online exclusive. You can only get it on, if you go out and look at the online store. But I'm using the thank you in here. I just like this script, and you'll see why when you see the paper we're using, why I think this script went with it. And then for embellishments, we're using the pastel adhesive back sequins. We're specifically using the pink ones. And then we will be using the wild wheat ink. So let me show you the project, because that's always the part that everybody wants to see for themselves. So this is what we're going to be making. We're going to be making this Thank You Fun Fold. I think it's really pretty. It's sweet, and when you open it up, it looks like this. So you have some of the paper, and here is why I thought that thank you went well. See how this is kind of scrolly? I liked the scroll that was before and after the thank you. So I felt it went with the little swirls in this paper. And then the pink is just because of the pink that is in here. And this is the bubble bath. I want to call it bubble gum, and I know bubble gum's wrong. So I'm calling it bubble bath because that's what it should be, is bubble bath. And so let's get to it. Oh, and I did stamp on the envelope like I usually do. I think that is a really, really cute little combination. So this card is fairly fast and fairly quick. Let's look at our ingredients in our envelope. Of course, we have our envelope, which we'll be stamping. We have our base card. Our base card is scored at, or is cut at 8.5 by 5.5. We've scored it at 4.5, and we are going to score it in one more spot. We're going to be scoring that at 1 1/4 on one side, but before we score it, I'll show you that. Then these are our pieces that are on the inside. We have 2 strips that are 1 inch and by 5 1/4. That's these. Then we have 2 that happen to be 2 3/4 by 5 1/4 here. So this is our stamps, and then we have our 2 3/4 by 5 1/4 for our written sentiment too. So let's just adhere. Let's first, before we do anything, oh my goodness, we are going to score this. And first I'm going to burnish the first scoring mark, because we're making a Z-fold card. So there's no right or wrong side to choose to score on. I'm bringing in my trimmer, and if any of you know me, I use it upside down. So I'm not sure if you can see that it's upside down, but I'm going to move this so you can actually see the bottom part down here. You see how I've got the lettering here, or the numbering here. I like it that way, and then the arm goes out to the side this way for me if I need it to. I don't need it to, so it's trying to be difficult. But this is a swing arm. Most everybody else has it the other way around, with it being up at the top. I think it's easier for me to see where it is, so I like it like this. So I'm going to be using my scoring blade here, and that is the gray blade. So I'm going to keep this other blade out of the way. The other thing I've done in the past is I just lift this one out. There's no way I can cut something when I do that. And then I just have the scoring blade. That's for those of you who are like me, who sometimes have the propensity to cut the paper instead of scoring it. And I have done that so many times it's not even funny. So I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to move this over to 1 1/4 right here. 1 1/4. And I'm going to hold that down and I'm just going to come in and I am going to score this. Now I go back and forth a few times just because the scoring on this isn't very deep and I want it to be there. So hopefully you can see that there's a score line there. And I'm going to just pop. This is one thing that's fun to know is you can just slide these in and out willy-nilly. So now it's back on the track. See how fast that is? I love that. It's my favorite thing. I love the trimmer. Okay, so now I want this to be a Z fold. So I'm going to fold it backwards onto where that score line is. And here is extremely important. Please burnish, 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 burnish. The more you burnish, the flatter your card's going to lay. Now it's not going to lay perfectly flat. As you can see, this is fully embellished and everything, and it doesn't lay flat. But it would stand up for you. So you could make it stand up. And if it did stand up, this is what it would look like stood up for the front view of it. So let me move these both out of the way. And we're just going to we're just going to adhere some items to begin with, because that will get rid of some pieces and make it easier for you. So the first thing I'm going to put in is this background piece that is going to go in here. So let me grab my stamp and seal, make my little Z if it wants to do it. Look at, there it goes, it wants to do it. So I'm just making a Z, and I don't really think there's an up or a down to this paper. And so I'm going to pull this in here, and I'm going to put it approximately 1/8 of an inch from the top, 1/8 of an inch from the side, and slide that down. Whatever I do, I have to keep repeating. Okay, so this is what's interesting. You kind of go in a layer here. I start with that one panel, and then I'm going to put on this panel. Again, I'm going to try and line up this top of this DSP with the top of this DSP, giving myself approximately 1/4 of an inch all the way down. And I'm going to adhere that down. Now, as you can see, I'm doing this kind of on the side, and it just makes it easier for me for lining up. If you're better doing it this way to line up, please feel free to do that. This is just better for me, and I know it sounds goofy, but it's how my eyeballs work. I mean, you could have different things, I guess. That's not the worst thing you could have, I suppose. Okay, and I'm just going to put an extra little doop there. Again, I want to be within about the same thing. Now, I don't measure it. I just eyeball it, and you can too. This is just to look pretty. You know, the more even it is, the better it is for your people. Now, this one, I am going to pull this close in, I think. Or I can put this one on next. It's up to you. When I did it the first time, I did it like this. And then I put this in here like this. So we'll do it that way this time. And then we can put the white one in last. Okay, and this time I'm actually looking at the bottom of it. And I'm going to try to make that go straight up. And should be pretty much same. There we go. Now this guy just goes here, and we're done putting all the bits on the inside. And then we get to some embellishment. Now this is one time where I did not, and I will just say this, I did not go and stamp on the white paper, because I've got all this beautiful designer series paper making it beautiful for the card. So I felt stamping on that would be too much. It would take away from whatever message I wanted to put in there. Now again, you don't have to use thank you. If you find another stamp that you like that says hello, a note, you know, happy birthday, anything can go on here. I just tend to make thank you cards. It just makes it easy for a lot of things. So there you go. That's what that's going to look like. And if you look at ours, it pretty much does that too. Okay, and now we're going to stamp. We're going to do some stamping, and these are the what they call cling stamps. So they have rubber, and then they have a foam area here. So I don't need to put anything underneath it to do my stamping. So I'm just going to set these to the side for a second. I will be stamping my envelope, and I will be stamping this piece here. Now these two are going to go together. And you can see by me holding the pink underneath it, you've got a nice scallop and then a pointed one, or more pointed, or a smaller scallop like this. They kind of are going to fit like this when it's all done. You need to decide, is this going to be your top or is this going to be your top? Whichever part of that edge is going to be your top. That's all you have to decide. It's really not that hard. I tend to take this one, but I have seen it done with this. It really is your choice. But I'm going to go with that being my top, or one of these being my top. And let me get out my ink. And this is one of our new in colors. It's the wheat color. I am learning to like this color. That's all I can say. It initially was not one that I said, oh, I am so happy to see that color. Because I was like, oh man, what am I going to do with that color? But now I'm starting to figure it out. So hopefully this is fairly straight. I'm just going to commit and go straight down. Again, straight down, straight up. That looks pretty good. Now it looks pretty dark right now, which is exactly what this one looked like until it dried. So it will lighten up as it dries, so because that's full strength and so is this. But this is as it dries, and as you can see, this matches this. So I'm going to set that over here, and then I'm going to pull in my envelope, and I'm going to pull my flower stamp, and I am going to stamp once on the front, just because I like something on the front of my envelope, and then I'm going to put something on the back. Okay, there we go. And that is all our stamping. The next thing we're going to do is put this together. So it's very important to know where you want to put your sentiment on the card. It can be up, down, this way, that way. I tried to make it sort of in between. Okay. So I am going to put adhesive straight up and down in the middle of this. It's going to be going on there. So let's put that on. You know, like I said, sometimes the little adhesive thing wants to have a mind of its own. I put a couple rows on there. I'm not going very wide on it. I don't know if that shimmer shows, but it's really only about, oh, at the most 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to decide that I want this pretty much in the middle of my card, and when I decide I have it where I want, I am going to commit, and then I'm just going to burnish it down with my bone folder. I really want that to stick. That's how the card's going to be pulled open. And then on here we are going to adhere my favorites. That's right, dimensionals. I knew you knew that. I don't know if I mentioned before, but there are some sequins in your packet. So this one I probably went a little bit bonkers on because I just really love these things. I know, I am silly. And it's okay to be silly because, you know, what's life without a little whimsy? As my daughter likes to say to me all the time. So I average like 5 on everything I put on. So 5, 6, minimum 3. And that's probably something very small, but I do it anyways. Okay, so now, as you can see, oh, mine is not, to make that straight, I have that as my up and down. Well, this one's going to be a little bit different than the last. because I did not make sure that that was the up and down part when I stamped. Now I could cut out another piece, but I'm going to do this way and just see. It still looks pretty, even though it's not a complete matchup like the other one. Okay, so this way you can see it both ways. This is a complete matchup. This one is not. But it's okay. It is okay. Nobody will know that I didn't mean to do that, and so I'm okay with it. I'm always okay with my mistakes on this. Believe it or not, I'm a perfectionist in other things, but in card making, I give myself grace, because if I didn't, I'd probably go bonkers, because I'm not always straight, and it's very frustrating if you throw things away just because they're not absolutely perfect. Well, we're not machines, we're humans, and that's, I think, what makes this even more fun is the fact that because it's got that human element, that little bit of whimsy, that little bit of difference here and there, it makes it be unique and be your own. So these are my cards, and like I said, the goal is to make it like this, but if you do what I did and stamped it incorrectly, it still looks really nice. It's almost more lacy looking, more florally here, where this is very more formal. I think this is just, I just love both. Love both. I don't really have a favorite. So thank you so much for joining me today. In the description of the video, I will have all the materials you need. Again, it's a very simple card, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can always leave me a message. Please like my video, and please check out my store if you want to purchase any of the products. Thank you again for watching, and have a lovely day.